так без покаяния, да к черту на рога. Мы сами речку выбрали, что где еще не плавали, за 1000 верст от здешних мест тебя Коперниган.
On July 27, 1987, a team of 15 Americans arrived in Moscow in the name of Project RAFT. Their primary goal, to find the ideal river for the first ever river rafting youth exchange between the United States and the Soviet Union. The proposed exchange will put tomorrow's leaders literally in the same boat, experiencing being at risk together, while providing young Soviets and Americans, and the world, with a vivid model of cooperation. When a group of people coming from different cultural backgrounds step into a paddle raft above a big whitewater rapid, they must forget about their differences. They must, indeed, forget about everything, except for the common goal of survival. The best way to survive is to work together as a team. When people do work together, they can successfully avoid the dangerous obstacles that lie in their path, and in some cases take them head-on and power through them as a team. The founder of Project RAFT, Jib Ellison, developed the idea of using the sport of whitewater rafting as a tool to create better understanding between the United States and the Soviet Union.
Taken the idea of river rafting as a vehicle towards learning about what it is to work together.
In May of 1987, Ellison received permission from Sov Intersport to explore the Katun River in south-central Siberia as a possible site for the exchange. After a day in Moscow, the Project RAFT team took to the air again. 3,000 miles, 3 days, 2 airplane rides, and many helicopter shuttles later, the group and their 44 pieces of baggage landed in the heart of the Altai Mountains at the International Mountaineering Camp, Altai. This was to be the base of operations for the Katun Exploratory. At the opening ceremonies, the crew met their Soviet guides and had their first taste of Soviet hospitality. After a couple of days' rest, on August 4th, the choppers arrived to take the team up and over 14,000-foot Mount Beluga to the headwaters of the Katun River. Following the path of a long-departed glacier, here the Katun began its journey through the Altai Range. All of the necessities for the next 10 days, including food and camp gear, were carried in the rafts. The water flow at the put-in was a swift 500 cubic feet per second, which was to increase over 20-fold in the course of the next 300 kilometers. A neutral river language was devised to allow the Soviets and Americans to guide and be guided by each other. Words like fot and zod, meaning forward and back paddle, were created by using sounds from both languages. Paddling alongside Project RAFT in Soviet catamaran rafts were a group of 8 Americans sponsored by National Geographic. Soviet river guides Misha, Zhenya, and Sasha rotated among all the boats. The Soviets are quite advanced in their rafting techniques and equipment. Rafting in the Soviet Union has developed in complete isolation from the rest of the world. All of their equipment is individually designed and handmade from the resources available. Most of the rafts consist of 2 inflated tubes held together with a frame. Many frames are made with small trees and branches felled right at the river, while the more sophisticated frames are made of aluminum. Ingenuity and a strong desire to raft are key ingredients in all Soviet river gear. The Katun is a popular river among Soviet boaters. Several groups are encountered along the way. On the morning of the third day, the river narrowed and dropped into Five Cheeks Canyon. Here the rapids were tight and technical, similar to those found on the rivers of California.
Around. I'd say left.
Stay left? Can't see what's going on.
I know, it's hard to say. There's a big rock on
We can eddy out right up here and take another look for a second. Spin out of the eddy and go.
Just as paddling through rapids requires teamwork, off the river, in camp, people work closely together to provide the day's basic needs, which can make for a very intimate environment.
What kind of quantity do you think of water we need for it? Last night's soup made in that big pot. This is at 3 cups of water. And that makes about over type of soup grade about that much soup.
И познакомиться с водниками.
Спасибо. Tell him I gave him the shirt off my back.
This doesn't translate. She's serious though.
Yeah, I should.
She doesn't go.
Спасибо.
Part of
Turn around.
Tell him now he's a part of the project. Just me.
Щенком и верил в грезы детства, усатым трубачом себя воображал, едва заслыша звук военного оркестра с ватагою друзей, я вслед за ним бежал. Это хорошо, ать-два, руки, ноги, голова, душу выдувая ртом, поднимая пыль столбом, лупим не жалея ног, чередуя выдох, вдох, чтоб по жизни ходить.
Good morning. Good morning. It's pancake time this morning.
And failures.
Okay, all right, watch this one now.
Open door policy.
Oh, good technique, just missed.
Hey, wait. And I'm the oldest one here.
On the afternoon of the fourth day, the group visited their first of several Siberian villages along the Katun, Modelavoycheskoye, or the reindeer herding town. Dressed in surf shorts and sporting sunglasses and cameras, the Project RAFT group must have looked like a strange party of space travelers. The local residents, however, took it all in style. During the winter months, this village experiences temperatures of as low as 40 degrees below zero and averages 9 feet of snow. A warm village at heart, the majority of these people had only heard about Americans and received them with much grace, friendship, and hospitality. As far as anyone could remember, Project RAFT was the first group of Americans to ever visit Maralovocheskaya. After making new friends and contacts, dispelling a few myths, and undoubtedly creating a few more, the team had to move on. On the seventh and final day on the Katun, the group encountered Akem Breach, the biggest rapids of the trip. Project RAFT's journey down the Katun ended at the confluence of the Argut River. Due to helicopter delays, the team spent 2 days here. In that time, they had the opportunity to get acquainted with 3 separate groups of Soviet rafters who were in the midst of their own journeys down the Katun. The Soviet rafters were overjoyed when they discovered the purpose of Project RAFT's historic visit to the Katun, and responded by inviting the Americans to paddle with them in their rafts through a big Class 4 rapid, 100 meters upstream on the Argut. The Project RAFT team, in turn, invited their Soviet counterparts to join them for a ride in the American boats. For the next 2 days, Soviets and Americans paddled together and came to know each other better.
It's just so important that things like this happen and continue to happen, and seeing the friendships, the bonds that have formed here makes it all that much more apparent how important it is for them to keep on happening in the future.
As far as I could get from spending 2 weeks with you on the water, and your fires, and the other tents, rafting down the river, I think now I have much deeper understanding of what kind of people you are, Americans.
This is a high point, like Mount Everest for me. There has been so much that I have been enriched by, that I am standing here, a middle-class American, just with nothing special. I don't own much of anything, but I am a multi-millionaire.
So, Project RAFT is just a very small little model of what it is to cooperate. It's the bottom line. And what's gone on here, I think, is a very positive step in that direction. We've made very good human close contacts, not so much with the administrators and the bureaucracy, but more importantly with the people who run the rivers.
А значит, не приснится тот вал из-за порога, ударивший в упор, и горы облаками, укутавшие лица, и облака высокие, как продолжение гор, и горы облаками, укутавшие лица, и облака высокие, как продолжение гор. На этой высшей вере не задрожали руки, ты только не подумай, что вдруг не повезет. Пусть бьют валы по ласу, коварны и упруги, нам далеко не наплевать на тех, кто дома ждет. Пусть бьют валы по ласу, коварны и упруги, нам далеко не наплевать на тех, кто дома ждет.
The first joint Soviet-American river expedition on the Katun was a huge success, made possible by the cohesiveness of the Project RAFT team, the hospitality of the Soviet hosts, and by the common belief that Soviet-American wilderness exchanges are a valuable means of gaining a better understanding of each other.
Nothing afraid.
Ничего не бойся.
Okay. До свидания.
Я знаю, как это по-русски точнее.
Ничего не бойся, мужик.
Heading for the gnarl. Oh! He's up!